What is up, everyone? My name is Uncle Jay. Thanks for checking in. This is part 2 of a 3-part video series in which we'll be discussing how to crush online poker tournaments. We are on the Las Vegas Strip right now. It's about 7 o'clock in the evening. I'm not sure what type of lights we'll be seeing. I'm not sure what's going to be lit up since everything's been shut down for about 3 weeks now. But I figured it's a good night to get out. It's about 55-ish degrees. It's a perfect evening to take a walk. Before we get into the poker hands, I do want to talk about one quality that I am trying to attain in order to be the best poker player that I can be. And even if you're not a poker player, I think that this is something that everyone needs to have deep down inside if we want to achieve success. Let's get started. This is pretty eerie to be walking the strip and seeing it so empty. I've walked past maybe 3 or 4 people. 2 of them were runners, 1 of them was on a bike, so I feel like everyone just comes here for exercise and just to kind of see what's going on. Same reason that I'm going to. And there's also a pretty big police presence down here, and I didn't think about that, but I guess that makes sense, seeing as how there's so much down here. They do want to have some form of security, right? I just couldn't imagine being on that duty where you're just sitting out in front of the Mirage for your 8-hour shift. Like, geez, what a boring day. All right, so let's get to it. The one quality that I want to tell you that I am trying to grow and be a better man, a better poker player, and that quality is grit. And I think that I do have some of that in my gut already, but I think there's always room for growth. And I believe that grit is something that can be exercised. It does come from our brain. It does come from our fortitude, our determination to win, our will to win. It's our courage when facing adversity. This is when grit comes into play, and it can only be exercised in real life situations. But I think that we can prepare ourselves so that when these situations do arrive, that we can have our best grit in our guts. I think that in order to attain grit, in order to grow our grittiness, we'll call it, we need to have some sort of endurance, physically and mentally. And for me, I have been doing a lot of yoga, and I feel like yoga is less meditation. Some people do find a lot of relaxation with the mind and the stretching, but for me, it is just more physical than it is for mental. For me, I've mentioned this before in a previous video, but primed mind is the way that I choose to meditate. And I think that there's just a lot of good things that I can do on a daily basis. It is literally having a therapist in your pocket to get you started for your day, to get you attaining your health and fitness goals, obviously for poker. So I think that in order to have our ultimate grittiness, that stamina and endurance, both physically and mentally, are key components for our success. So take that, Einstein. My answer to your little riddle. Of course, everyone is going to know the rules of the game, but how do we outplay everyone else? The answer? Grit. If you're interested in becoming a better poker player on and off the table, this channel is probably going to be very beneficial for you. Make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you know when I drop more videos. Don't forget to hit that like button for me if you like what you've seen so far. Peace out, let's get to it. All right, let's talk some poker. We're in the middle stages of the tournament here, and a lot of my general strategy is to just not to go broke doing something stupid or something asinine. We want to be really mindful of the spots that we're choosing to put our chips in. So when we raise with ace jack offsuit, we see a flop of 9-8-7 in a multi-way pot. I don't think that we need to be betting here. It's easy for us to get check shoved on. This is a very coordinated board. So when we do check, our opponent massively overbets the pot, effectively putting us all in. We have an easy fold. Ace-7 suited in the big blind. We're facing an early position raise and a caller. We definitely want to continue here, so we make the call, see an ace. And we want to be checking here. I don't think there's any merit in leading out because it's easy for us to get check raised, and that's exactly what happens to the initial raiser. So we dodged one there. We see 10-9 suited on the button. We have a 15 big blind stack. Definitely want to be shoving all in here. We need to be stealing pots at this part of the tournament, and we're not going to be always having good hands, so let's just try to clean up as much equity as we can. The same deal goes with King 10 suited. We are in a relatively middle late-ish position, so I think that shoving all in is definitely the best play here. The following hand, same deal goes with ace queen suited. I think we need to be shoving all in instead of min raising. If we do min raise and get called, then if we don't flop an ace or a queen, we're probably not going to feel good about continuing. So for that reason, I think we just need to shove in and clean up the equity. Now for this hand, king jack suited, under the gun +1. I was still in that aggressive all-in shove mode, and I went ahead and shoved all in here. I think that this is really close, but it is still an all-in shove, and when we do get called by the person to our immediate left, I already know that their range is very strong and we're going to need some help, and that's exactly what happens. He has pocket queens, and we end up getting there, and that's always fun. And I have this app, it's called Float the Turn Push Fold app. It's free to download in any app store, and you can always just plug in these numbers. I don't think that we should just blindly be following this, but it is a good guide to see if we're playing good or playing incorrectly, too aggressive, too passive, or whatever. So that was a profitable shove, even though we did get called by a better hand and ended up getting lucky on the river. We still need to be shoving all in and being aggressive at this stage. Here with pocket 10s on the button, we're facing an early position raise and a call. I think we need to be shoving all in, given that we have under 20 big blinds, but we make the call instead. I think that this is a mistake. Flop comes 9-5 deuce with 2 diamonds. Note that we do not have a 10 of diamonds in our hand. The initial villain checks, and the second villain bets half pot. Again, I think that we should be shoving all in here. Our 10s are under repped, and I think that we can get called by a lot. However, we just decide to make the call. Again, that is a mistake, I believe. The turn, completing the flush, jack of diamonds, and I don't think that we need to continue betting here. We have decent showdown value, so let's just take it as we can. And with the river pairs the 5, I think that we can go for a tiny bet here, just a 2 big blind bet to get called by any 9 or worse, or maybe even some ace highs. I have experimented with this, and I've done 3 big blinds, and I find that many people fold to 3 big blinds, so we do too. The next hand, we have king 10 of diamonds in the big blind. We're facing a late position raise. We definitely want to be seeing a flop here, and it comes ace queen 5. We pick up a gut shot and a backdoor flush draw. I don't think we should check raise here because I think an ace is never folding, so I think that check calling and seeing what develops is probably our best option. So that's indeed what we do, and we end up seeing a diamond on the turn. And I, again, would not be opting to check raise here because an ace is never folding. So to my surprise, it does go check, check on the turn, and on the river we get there with our flush. So since I don't think our opponent has an ace, I would like to get a queen or something worse to call. So I bet 10,000 into the 27,900 pot.
And I think that that's a really good value bet here. And to my surprise, we end up getting raised. And just like I told you, I don't think our opponent has many aces. I think our king high flush is good. We only lose to what, like a 6-4 diamonds for a straight flush. So I'll take second nuts all day long here, and we shove all in. And we end up getting called by his rivered backdoor straight. I don't love his raise on the river. I don't know how many hands he's going to be getting called with by doing that. But hey, we'll take that. And we get a really nice double up. Now we have ace queen suited in the very next hand. The same villain raises to 8,000, and the person to his left shoves all in for 16,000. I think that ace queen suited can be 4-bet here to try to isolate our all-in scenario here. I'm not sure how much we should be raising, so I just went for a min raise on the click back, and we end up getting called. The flop gives us 2 hearts, and I think that we need to continue betting here. However, I did opt to check. I don't know, I think I was just afraid of my opponent having an overpair that was never folding. So it does end up checking down, and we end up chopping the pot anyway with the person that went all in. But I think that I do need to be betting at least the flop because we want to be betting our made hands and our strong draws. And obviously, an ace high flush draw is one of the best draws that we can have. Next hand, we pick up ace 8 suited. We're about 30 players left in the tournament, and we have less than 20 big blinds in our stack. We can go all in or call here, but I think calling is a more viable option. Flop comes jack 10-7, giving us a gut shot straight draw and a backdoor club draw. I think we want to be check raising here. We have a lot of outs on the turn to continue barreling, but it does go check check. When we do see the additional club on the turn, I think we do want to be betting here. A little bit less than half pot should get the job done. If our opponent had a jack or a 10, he would definitely continue betting on the flop. So I think that this is a good time to be betting the turn and possibly firing the river. But we end up getting the fold and win with ace high. The next hand, we have 9-8 suited in the small blind facing a 2.6x raise from under the gun. And I think that we need to be folding here given that we started the hand with about 17 big blinds. I think that by calling this and being out of position, our 9-8 is most likely dominated in a lot of scenarios. This next hand, we pick up ace jack offsuit. We have about 18 big blinds to start the hand. I think that we can shove all in or raise, but given that there are several short stacks still remaining in the tournament, I didn't want to go broke before them by shoving a hand like this. So I just make a standard min raise, get called by one of the small stacks, and get 3-bet by the chip leader. And this is about a 70% pot raise. I think we need to be folding here because our stack to pot ratio and what do we think that he's really 3-betting here? Probably hands that are better than ace jack. So the flop comes 6-3 deuce and we just need to get out of the way. Coulda, woulda, shoulda turned an ace, but our opponent had pocket kings and we probably should not have been in the pot in the first place. So it's easy to get discouraged after making a big blunder like this, but it's important just to not give up. Right now I have about 7 big blinds and we have 10-9 suited. You definitely want to be shoving here. When we get reshoved on, I feel miserable, but we flop top 2 and our opponent is drawing dead on the turn, so we get a nice little fist bump there. And like I said earlier, you need to have grit and you don't want to be quitting just because you make a mistake or just because you get unlucky. Make sure that you are putting your chips in, putting your money in when the price is right, and you want to be cleaning up as much equity as we can. And that's what we do with the king-queen offsuit in late position. We win that shove there. And this is the third hand in a row. There's been no editing going on between hands. And we pick up our pocket queens facing an early position shove. Definitely want to be reshoving, and we flop the freaking nuts. And everyone is drawing dead on the turn. And we just, strong man emoji. We are jumping up and down because we have a boatload of chips after being pretty much dead last in the tournament to being one of the chip leaders. Is pretty awesome. And the fourth hand in the row, the final hand of the vlog, we have ace king and we want to continue our heater. We start with our min raise and get called by the villain in the big blind. Jack 8-4. I think that we want to continue betting because it's a difficult board for anyone to connect with. But when our opponent makes the call, I think that we just want to give up and not continue stacking off chips. We end up pairing our king on the river, and I go for a two big blind bet because this is the bet that gets called by pretty much everything, and that's indeed what happens. So that's going to be it for this vlog. We're going to go over the final two tables in part 3 of this. So thanks for checking in. I hope you like what you saw. I'll see you soon.